or in some cases, thanks for taking your lunch hour to spend it with us. We're privileged, honored, and mostly awake here in Seattle, Washington on this beautiful sunny day. I'm sure the sun is somewhere above those clouds. We are here to present Spectrum Service Management. My name is Wayne Newitz. I'm here with Mark Schwartz. We have a fairly large number of folks who've joined us today who are, from what I can see, not current customers. So we have a few who are, so welcome to all. I'm going to spend just about 2 minutes, promise no more than that, and give you just a little bit of context about what Spectrum Construction Software is all about. Then Mark's going to dive in specifically to the service management aspects of what we do. So here's a little bit of what we do. Well, three things you see there. The reason I start with this is because there's a lot of change going on. There always is in technology, but right now it's a particularly interesting time because we have 3 changes going on, and they affect construction contractors very particularly because the nature of our work, it's remote, it's all over the place, it's with different people, it's usually with people out within and outside of our company, and to some extent our control, all trying to work together, all trying to make a profit, all trying to do it in the context of getting work done or getting projects done. And so these 3 technologies are very relevant. First, upper left, the cloud. We've all been hearing quite a lot about that. I'm not going to go into the details here, but cloud computing essentially gives you the ability to connect to software, to applications, to your data, wherever you are working, which is a segue to the icon that you see on the right, mobility. The processing capability in a mobile device right now, the one that I just handed over some money this week, as a matter of fact, at the Apple Store to purchase my new iPhone 6. Well, the computing power in that phone exceeds the computing power in the Apollo 11 spacecraft, lunar module and command module combined. Pretty impressive. And then we carried this around in our pockets and use it to play Angry Birds and text our daughters, right?
I would say probably also at least half of what was on the ground.
No doubt, absolutely, absolutely. So, so we have mobility becoming ubiquitous. We have the cloud allowing this ubiquity of devices to connect and talk to each other. The one piece that needs to pull it all together and is doing so to a greater or lesser degree is the software that's used to take advantage of these new technologies. So with these 3 things going on, it's pretty exciting times, definitely changing times. And that means that the software that we're all using, the way we're using software has to change. Just think back 5 years ago, think back 10 years ago. I can't remember that far. Think back 5 years ago and think about the way you're using software, the way you're communicating, the way you're sharing information with your field staff, with your office, with other companies that you work with. It's really becoming a completely different ballgame. And the software that we're using has to change to accommodate this new, pardon the use of the word, paradigm. Promise I'd take 2 minutes. I'm probably over that, but here's my last slide before we get into the meat of the presentation. Wanted to let folks know what Spectrum is all about. Spectrum is it's enterprise software to help run your business from beginning to end, soup to nuts, as they say. It's cloud-based, it's mobile-friendly, and it's something that everyone in your company can use. That's kind of a key point. It's not closed down just to the several power users of the company who access the software behind closed doors or curtains. This is software that's open with mobile apps for everyone in the field, with dashboard applications, open to everyone in your company. And you can see along the bottom the rainbow set of applications that we offer. We are, oh, I lied, this isn't my last slide. We are going to focus on this one today, folks. And here you see a rough breakdown of 7 categories of service management that Professor Schwartz is going to cover. With that, without any further ado, Mark, I'm going to make you the presenter. Are you prepared for this honor?
We'll see.
All right, here we go, and clicking the appropriate button.
Here, can everyone see that?
I see it very clearly, sir.
All right, let's give it a shot.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. All right, as you have been listening to Wayne wax enthusiastic about the value of the cloud, for those of you that are concerned that your data might be off-site, because I know we have some customers that don't like their data to go off-site, what Wayne is talking about when he talks about cloud is he means you can be anywhere and pull up a web browser to get to your data. And whether that data is sitting on a server back in your closet, or it's sitting on our server, or it's sitting on the server of your brother-in-law who decided to start his own ISP, we don't care. The point is that we want you to be comfortable with where your data lives, and we want to provide you with an easy way to get it. So what you do with our system is you pull up a web browser. I'm using Chrome. You might like Firefox. You might like Internet Explorer. You might have Apple computers and are using the Apple Safari browser. All of them work beautifully. So you'll put in your URL to get to your data. It's 128-bit encryption between my browser and the server, and you'll go ahead and then sign in. And the first thing you're going to get is going to be your dashboard. And what you see on your dashboard is a function of who you are in the firm and the kinds of apps you're allowed to get. So since I'm the demo guy, I get them all. And if you decided, for example, you didn't really want to have an app on customer aging totals, or maybe I've got it on here twice, and you said, you know, I need the vendor aging totals on there, you can get rid of that. You come into the settings. It'll pull up a screen to show you the apps you have available. Those are the ones on the left here. You'll then pop into the search, and you'll say, go grab me my vendor aging, and you can see I've got a few to go get. There they are, and you can go and drag that in. And then you'd say save. And then you'd have over here your vendor aging. And it would pull that up compared to your customer aging. Since I'm a demo guy, you can see I've got a lot of stuff over 90 days. The idea is to provide an environment that makes it easy for you and each of your users to be able to arrange your desk the way you like it, to be able to put the things that you need so that it's comfortable for you to work. And the idea is I know all of you who have seen new software, all the new software has dashboards, but the key is that our dashboards just don't tell you when something's wrong. They don't just tell you that, hey, I've got, you know, I'm going to run a report and then put the burden on you to go fix it. Our dashboards are designed, yeah, to show you when things need attention, like my unapproved invoices. But when you click into here, it doesn't just show you more detail about those invoices. It takes you to the screen where you can get them approved. When you're back over here on the dashboard, here I've got a bunch of apps written for service sales guys. Here's proposed work orders. Here's one that's 174 days old. Hopefully your guys won't have that. But the point is, when I click into this, the burden is not on me to go and find that. Once I'm told that I've got the problem, I can click here and go do this. So the point is that I can get right to the work order. So the point with the dashboards is not only to provide a comfortable environment for your staff, but to make the software easier to use. The dashboard is not just a reporting tool. It's part of what we like to say in the computer business or the software business, part of the user interface. So today, oh, and one last thing, you can write your own. If you need to do something on the dashboard and you're thinking, man, it would be much better if it did X, Y, or Z, you can do that. So we're going to go dig into the software here, and I'm going to start with the, actually I'm going to start into the work orders here because I want to show you something. I'm not going to talk about work orders quite yet. I want to talk about the screen layout because if you're not comfortable with how the system works, you're not going to be comfortable with anything else I tell you. So let's go and pull up, let's go search on a work order here. We'll pull up the, let's pull up this library one right here. Now what's happening over on the left-hand side of the screen is I have something that we call the info bar. And the purpose of the info bar is to make using the software easier. We find when people choose our software over our competition, they're doing it for two basic reasons: ease of use and ease of deployment. This whole thing about being able just to fire up a web browser and you're off to the races, that's the ease of deployment part. The ease of use part are things like the dashboard I just showed you. And another big component of that is the info bar, which is over here on the left-hand side. If you think about, for just a moment, traditional software is organized into modules, and quite frankly, we are too. So when you come to us and say, we like what you're doing, we'd like to buy your software, you'll pick which modules you need. And in most software, their menu is all modular based. So if you wanted to, I don't know, learn something about, let's back up here. Let's talk about a work order. So if you think about all the modules that may touch a work order, you're going to have AP for goods coming in. You're going to have inventory, will touch that work order. You're going to have payroll, is going to touch the work order. You're going to have purchase orders, are going to touch that work order. So in most systems, that if you're going to want to learn something about your service group, you're going to need to know how to manage your way through this menu. And for most people, that's not a pleasant experience because that puts the burden on them to know where to go. What the info bar does is it says we aren't going to put that burden on you. So anything you want to know about work order 12148, we're going to put all that right here, and we don't care what module it comes from. So if you're down here looking at the activity screen and you pull up materials, any materials that might have been on this work order, coming from inventory or wherever, are going to be in here. Any purchase orders that are going to relate to this work order are going to be in here. Even though that they're part of the purchase order module, we're going to be able to see them from here. And while we're here looking at this work order, wouldn't it be nice if we had access to the site information that this comes from? And now we've got all the site information that relates to this work order. And I don't have to go diving off somewhere else in the system to go find it. And that's the point. I want you to think of when you go out to a nice restaurant and you order clam chowder. I love Manhattan clam chowder. And when you go to a nice restaurant and order that clam chowder, a good waiter, and at a nice restaurant,
is going to bring you oyster crackers.
He's going to do that.
Right.
And a really good waiter is going to show up as well with the cracked pepper, and a spectacular waiter in his right pocket is going to have a bottle of Tabasco. I don't like pepper or Tabasco in my clam chowder, but I like the fact that they've got it because it shows me that they're thinking about me and that they're trying to make my experience in the restaurant a good one. And the info bar is like that. And as you work your way through the system, the info bar is going to change so it will attempt to be one step ahead of you. So if you're looking at a work order and need information about the site, it's going to be in here, and you'll be able to dive in. And because I'm looking at PO information here, there's a PO info bar here. And as I work, I want you to see how I use the info bar, and I want you to watch how the info bar changes to be that one step ahead of me. All right, now we've got that out of the way, which I think is pretty cool stuff because, well, I like that stuff. Let's dive in and talk about service specifically and what your experience would be like in our system. And I'm going to start with what has to be the most boring screen of all in all of software development. And this screen is the service request screen. And while it's perhaps the most boring screen, it's also one of the most powerful. And it starts with this field up here. This is a search field. And the idea here is that you're at the office, a phone call comes in, and someone wants you to do something. So what would you do? Well, you get a call. You say, hi, I'm getting a call from the library. And you type in LIB and hit enter. And the system will pull up all of these sites that have LIB and the site ID, the name, the customer, phone. It looks through all of these fields at once, looking for information that it can pull up. And if I pull this up, it'll show you all the different fields it's going to search through, including 2 user-defined fields. It means you don't need to know where the bones are buried. You just go ahead and get your work done, and the system will go and find it for you. So I'm going to pull up that library again because that's where I do all my demos. I do them with the Seattle Main Library. And now the screen springs into action, and it shows its power. And in the upper right-hand corner here, I would encourage everybody using this screen, that's the first place you look, because the purpose of this screen is to provide information so that your call taker not only can take care of your customer so that not only your customer, so that your call taker knows who they're talking to, what's going on with that customer, so they can better handle the call, but they can also take good care of you. So they're not dispatching guys to customers that perhaps don't pay as well as you'd like them to. And let's look over here and see what I've got. I've got things over their credit limit. These guys are over their credit limit by 138 grand. Probably a problem. And they've got a past due AR balance. You probably already guessed that if I IV with these hyperlinks, they're going to do something for me. And when I click into them, down below, they're showing me where I stand with that customer. And there's that $182,000 that's 90 days past due. And they've got that credit limit of 150 grand, and they have a total balance due of 288. Might this be a good time to say, we'd love to send someone out, but I've got a problem with your overdue balance. Do you have a credit card handy? This would be a good time to do that, because now we have what we like to call leverage.
Think of the air miles for 138,000.
That's even a better way to phrase it.
There you go.
So and if you gave me permission, I could actually drill in to the system and look at all the invoices this customer owes me, so we can discuss individual invoices. Here's one for 90 grand. And I can go ahead and pull up that invoice. It shows what we did, why things cost so much. And there's even a place for me to put notes. And it says he resent an invoice. And then if I click a new note, I can pop in here and say checks in the mail.
So this is security protected, right, Mark? I mean, not everyone necessarily has access to all of this information. You can limit that.
You only let me see what you let me see.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. It's a fully integrated system. I'm not often the service system and don't have access to AR. Clearly I do. And that makes then this service request screen that much more powerful because of that integrated package. Other parts that I've got here are site alerts, maybe service contracts. I've got multiple active contracts out, so maybe this is going to relate to one of those contracts. There are open POs. I can click on this and see all the open POs that I've got with this guy. And customer alerts as well. Look at my tabs across the top here. Under work order history, every work order I've ever done at this site is available to me here. And I can sort, or I can limit what I see. Maybe I don't want to see the finished ones, only the complete and the unfinished. And you decide out of this group what you want to see, and you can see I only have one proposal, for example. And you can click on any of these and drill down to those work orders, and I'm not going to do that yet. We'll see plenty of work orders in a moment. Right on this tab, I can enter the work required. Hi, am I talking to Annie? Well, yes, I am. Annie, what is it you need done? Well, Annie calling from the library says it's too cold in the reading room. Kids, I don't trust the kids. There you go. That seems like something Annie would tell me. Annie, do you have a PO for me? Yes, I do. Now, I don't need to do anything else in order to create a work order that can be dispatched, but you probably want me to. And you probably want me to discuss the things I can do. So we have a dispatch status, and this system ships with this group of statuses here. And then you assign your own descriptions and codes to those statuses. And that's why, for example, I may have a number of holds or a number of finished statuses. Okay? So I'm going to make this one open. And you will also create your own priority codes. So we'll make this one a medium code. Now we have some customers where they've got techs that are certified to do certain work but not others. This case type allows you to decide which tech is going to see what. So I didn't throw one in for HVAC, so we'll just say refrigerant for fun. And if while Annie's on the phone, I'll tell her it's going to cost her 85 grand to get this thing handled. And it's nice if you type it in the right field. Now this field here is a note field only. It is not for, has no accounting value. Probably take us a couple hours. She'd like us out today, and she'd like us out at 11 o'clock. Okay? So now down below here, I can type in all kinds of notes. Really long form notes can go in there. under the Equipment tab, if there's equipment at the site and you want to assign that equipment to the work order, you can do that. But right here as well, I can click this to assign it to the work order. And then I can have tasks that I want these guys to do while they're out there. And I can pop those on. I can also, while I'm here, look up equipment history, work order history. So if when I'm filling out the work orders and I apply equipment to the labor hours involved, I can go and track through that here and see how much it's cost to maintain this machine. I also have access to all my service contracts here. And since we are currently we want to talk about service contracts and I have access to them here, let me just jump in here and have a look. Let's go look at this service contract. So a service contract in our system, you'll be able to give it a description. You'll create these contract types that fit your business. Who the sales guy is, the start and end date. This is obviously any period of time you want. The cost center involved. My business is using cost centers, which are like divisions or departments on steroids. You don't need to use them if you don't need them, but if you do need them, they're pretty handy to have. And if you want to talk more about those, just give us a holler and we'll have a longer conversation. The type of work orders this service contract is going to produce, and then material and labor levels. Since it's a maintenance contract, we do not intend to charge separately for any work done on these work orders. Non-stock or markups, so you can have when you buy parts from they'll be the system has an algorithm to what to charge for those parts that are going to go onto that work order if you're going to do extra work. The contract status, whether you've got any profit on this one. This is a new contract. I don't really have any profit on it yet. The covered equipment. Here's all the equipment we intend to cover on this thing. Out of that list that I showed you before, this is what's on this contract. How we intend to bill this. So you can see here, I've got to the customer, who the customer is, how much the contract is valued at, if there's any sales tax on there, the billing start date, how many times I intend to bill them, and then how I'm going to earn the revenue. And we have a lot of ways to earn revenue. So what's going to happen is we come up with dates that we intend to go ahead and send the invoices out. And so you can then go through and populate those dates, and then once the dates are in there, you can tell Spectrum, hey, based on the dates, send out the invoices. A similar process with the visits. So you'll be able to plug visits into the system. It looks like I need to do that, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you'll say I've got a scheduled visit date, 04/15, and the work summary, and this can be spring call. And it should take us about 6 hours. And you can plug in a budget cost if you want. And when I update these, here's my alert. And then I just say what I want to do. I'll say against what machines are involved, and I'll pick the machines that are on this contract and what tasks I want to provide. And we're going to check the voltage, for example. And if I want part notes for this task, I can put that in there. Now this can be somewhat tedious if you've got a lot of pieces of equipment, but Spectrum provides you the ability, based on the type of machine, you can set up master contracts. And so you can say I've got a 2-visit master contract, here are all the types of equipment and what I intend to do based on the type. And you can tell Spectrum, hey, based on the machines in this contract, go look at the master and set all these visits up based on what's set up in the master, so you don't have to go through this task by task if you don't want to. Once these visits are in place, you can tell Spectrum, okay, for the month of April, print all of my work orders that against my service contracts. Spectrum will create the work orders that you can then dispatch. Now I've been playing here in these service contract visits. I've been on the service contract, and I got to this because I was here in the service request and I wanted to go have a look at it. You'll remember, I never bounced out to the menu. I was able to get all that from here. We talked about the credit check, and we've made mention of the purchase orders from this screen. And then the value here is that you probably had this happen where someone calls and you go out to service an account. They need a part. The part comes from Duluth. And things coming from Duluth are somewhat slow nowadays, so you have to leave. And you will be back in a couple of weeks. Customer calls in between when the part arrives, and now you've got an idea to see what's going on. When you want to create the work order, you click Create Work Order, and then it's off to the races. And here's the work order. Now, I'm not going to get into it in any depth at the moment. We'll get into this in a sec. Basically, all the stuff we plugged in is in here, and I don't have to mess with this. Nice and simple. If that process were to go a little less time and someone weren't explaining it, you'd say, I'm getting a call from Burger King. I say, which Burger King are you calling from? They say the Seattle one. I say, let's find out what we need done. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to Joe. Joe, what's the problem? Fryer on the Fritz. Okay, let's go and create the work order. And you can do it just that fast. Now, I'm hoping that you're going to you get a lot of new people calling. And if you think about a traditional system and what is necessary in order to satisfy with someone on the phone when they're calling to get new work done, they're a new customer, it's a pain for a computer. Remember, a software needs to have very strict rules to follow, or it breaks and you get bad numbers. So if you're going to set up a new customer, what's that mean? A new site, what's that mean? It means you have to set up a new customer, and then you're going to need to set up a new site, and then finally you can set up a new work order. And if you've got someone on the phone while you struggle through all that, that's what we call a major pain in the tuchus. Let me show you what Spectrum asks you to do. I have a button up here called New Site. And I can hit Enter and have Spectrum give me a site code if I want, or I can type one in. And the site name is going to be Wayne's Hideaway.
You know about this?
Not that secret, the way you talk.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, and that's at 123 Main Street. And that's in Cloud City. And that's in Washington, and that's 98555. And I'll skip the rest of this jazz. Watching me type is almost as exciting as watching paint dry. So, work order type. Again, you'll build things like residential, commercial, industrial. You'll organize. That's a way to help organize your system. So we'll make this a commercial account, and I'll put him into my Seattle Mechanical Group. Now, this could be an existing site for a new site for an existing customer, rather, or it could be a new customer. I'll make it a new customer. Let the system drop its own code in here. It's not Wayne's Hideaway. We'll call it Wayne Q. Newitz. Wayne, how do you spell your last name?
Any way you'd like, sir.
We're going to spell it like that.
That's awesome.
We will give you terms, however, in spite of what I know. I'll be the sales guy. Put a tax code in there. We'll give you a $5,000 credit limit, and then we'll give you basic charges, and then we come over here and create the new work. And some very basic notes, and then I can create the work order. Imagine what just happened there. I created a customer, I kibitzed with Wayne, created a site, and created a work order, did it all under maybe 3 minutes, and we're off to the races. So far, so good?
Interesting, though. You could be in the field doing this.
You could be in the field doing this.
Yeah.
Remember, going back to Wayne's central point.
We're actually in the field right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you've got connection to the internet, you can do what I just did from wherever you are. I'd like to think you could be on your boat.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a little nicer.
I'd like to think I had a boat.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
It's better to have a friend who has a boat.
That's always better. All right, let's go look at dispatching now. So I'm going to go to our dispatch schedule. And I'm going to minimize my favorites here so we have a little more real estate to play with. Now, this schedule is designed so that you're in charge of what it looks like. Over here on the left is we're using technology we call a tree grid And the value of the tree grid, in my opinion, is that it allows you to decide what's important for you to see. And let me take this thing and see if I can get rid of it altogether. Nope, comes back. There it is. So what's happening is that I can come into this thing and say, you know, I'd like to organize this by, come here you, by zone. And I can say, show me everything in the suburbs, or show me everything in Metro Downtown. Or I might say, I'd like to organize this not only by zone, as I have there, but what about customer? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Do you guys see those blue arrows by the zone button there? I'll just let this go. And then when I slide this over, and I go to Metro Downtown, and everything in Metro Downtown is part of the library. Whereas everything in the Midtown area, I've got these 3 customers to take care of. And let's say I like this, and then I can save it with this Save Current button here, and we'll call this Zone Customer. And the beauty of this is now this gives me the opportunity to set up a lot of different views and then just click through the views. So I can see a zone priority, for example. Or I might want to have a zone by site. Or some other way I want to organize this. I also have a selections button up here that says, hey, only show me work orders, or show me work orders from a specific work order zone, or of a status, or of a specific customer. And in fact, it allows me to have very organized boards. So if you have multiple dispatchers, you can say, Joe, you take care of this business, Jane, you take care of that business, and each one would have selections built to see that they took care of what they're supposed to take care of. Once your work orders have been organized like that, and we'll go pull this library one. Here's the one I just did. Too cold in the reading room, I don't trust the kids. Notice when I click in here, it tells me what's going on up there. Over on the right-hand side, these are all my texts. And the texts run top to bottom. And then from left to right over here, this is a timeline on the work that needs to get done. And what is going on here is that I can then take this timeline. Let me move this way, see if that helps me a little bit. Yeah, I like that better. What happens with this timeline, I can say I want to look at it in minutes or in hours. I might want to look at it in days. And I can even do it to months, and it just shrinks it up even more depending on what works best for you. I like looking at it in minutes, but that's just my preference. You look at it the way you like to look at it. And if I want to assign myself this call from the library, because you can see I have Mark Schwartz Tech here, I grab this and drag it down. And now, you remember how I said this is a refrigeration call? You guys remember that? Notice some of these are green and some of them are white. The white ones I can't assign this to. So here I'll give this to me, and you can see I'll just drop it on me right there. And it overlaps the Seattle Library one, so I'm going to have to go and decide how to handle those. But when I try to give it to one of the white guys, do you see that little tiny can't go there sign next to my mouse? It won't let me assign it because they're not certified to do these types of calls. It shouldn't surprise you that I am, being a man of many talents that I am. Okay, so once this has been dispatched to the guys, what happens now? I'm going to pull up a product we call FieldTech, and let me bring that down over here. We designed FieldTech to work on a tablet like an iPad, and so the tech is going to log in. And then they'll sign in. And here is the view he'll see, and he has a dashboard, just like you had a dashboard. His dashboard is going to be configured to help him get his job done. So we gave him 5 apps, and you might find other apps you might want to provide him. So those apps are my open work orders. You remember that work order I gave myself, I set it for 7 o'clock in the morning on today, and here it is right here. My other work orders, so any work order that's not open, whether it's finished or on hold or some other status that's not open, is going to be over here. my work order time. We have the ability for your techs to enter time against work orders without having to open up the work orders to do it. My truck inventory and truck restocking alerts. So let's go pop open this work order here that we did for the library. And I have the opportunity to clock in. I said, there we go. And you can see down here that the status has changed when I click that. Now this status, I decided it should say arrived. And you might have some other status you might like, maybe in transit or on my way or whatever you decide you want it to be. And down below here, before we leave this screen, it tells me what I need to get done, the address I'm going, what's going on down here. And over here, I've got images, and I can click on that. So maybe when I get to the library and I need to take a picture of something for some reason, I can do that. All these tablets have cameras in them. We might as well take advantage of that. So I can click on the Attach button here, and I can go and browse. Now, if I'm on an iPad, the iPad pops a little window up here when I click the Browse button. It says, do you want to take a picture with your camera, or do you want to just look at pictures you've already taken? And so you click the one you want to take with the camera, and you start snapping away. But since I'm on my computer and not an iPad, I'll go ahead and browse, and we'll go see if we can find ourselves some pictures that might be valuable for us to put in here. And let's try this one. And I like that. So come here, you. Open up this window here. There we go. And I thought I had, there we go. I like that one. And we'll upload that file. Okay? So here's a photo I took of the HVAC panel, maybe why something was cold. And I can go ahead and close that out. And then I can get a map. I can have a map of where I'm supposed to go. That's on here. I have a place for notes. So all of the information coming over. And if you see the work order notes, you remember to be quiet. And then this list of lots of notes can go in here. Now over here on the proposed, and I have a place to put my work completed notes here. Now remember, if I'm on a tablet, they have this lovely feature where you can, once you open up the keyboard, there's a microphone there. You click the microphone, it allows you to talk your text into the system. We'll simulate that. Talk your text into the system. There, how'd that look? And this is really helpful when you want your guys to put in their completed notes. I'm going to leave this labor piece alone because what's happening here is I've got that clock in, clock out button, and it'll just tag the time for me, so I don't have to mess with this. When I have materials I want to put on here, I can say new, and I'm going to go look for new items, and I can click into this and start searching for things I want to put on this work order. So if I'm looking for wire, and I'm looking against my service truck here, and hit enter, I've got this that's on the truck. We'll grab this, we'll say OK. I'll hit enter, and we put on 56 units of wire. Now the idea here is that we're not doing accounting. You know, this is come as a great shock to many of us here at Dexter and Cheney, is that service guys don't like to do accounting. I know.
I'm verklempt.
I know you.
I need to get some fresh air.
Exactly. So we want to make this as simple as possible. You know, these are smart guys. They want to move through this as quickly as possible. Let me put the item code in. Let me put the quantities down. Let me move on, and that's the concept here. There might be other charges, and these other charges, when you establish a site, they can drop in automatically, but since I didn't do that, we'll just go ahead and grab a few of these. And we got transportation charge on this. Okay? And we've got user-defined fields. Now, what you put here is up to you. If you want to take a payment in the field, you might want to record it. You can do that here. Again, not accounting, but now the information's in here so that your accountants can apply the payment properly and then reconcile it when the bank statement comes in. Purchase orders. You might have guys when they go off to the AAA service supply and pick up parts in order to get this work order finished out. And you'd like them to record those parts, or at least record a purchase order somehow. I have the expression, guys call in for a PO. So the concept here is the guy can then, we can click on this new PO button here, And he can say what vendor he's getting stuff from. I always use this guy. And I can purchase for this work order, or I can restock my truck. And then I can say what I'm buying. Hopefully I'll be a little more specific. $567. Okay, so what just happened? Spectrum has created a PO, 1591, and but it's a $0 PO. Because why? Well, I didn't do any of the detail work that the accountant staff needs to do because I'm a tech. I just gave you a note. So I pulled a PO. We got a $567 invoice on the way. I have, and I'll show you what life is like back in the office in a second around that. I can show you right now. Back in the office, when I pull that PO and I pop this up, and on my dashboard, I have a thing called my current workflow assignments. And if I refresh this, you'll see a new one down here. And then when I click this, it takes me to the PO that was just created. And if I click to internal notes, I've got the note that the guy in the field said he got some parts for $567. And then this gives me the opportunity to finish out the PO because I know the GL codes. I know how I want it coded. And then to apply these parts to the work order. So when the work order gets billed, we go ahead and bill for it. Now, if that happens too quickly, I can still be back. I'll minimize this now. I'm still back in my work order, and I can put parts on here through the material, and I can say what we got. So if we got, and I can do, and I got stuff, and we can throw something on here. A description of what we got. More wire. And we can put quantities on if it makes sense to do so. Okay? Now, again, not billing, but it will be recorded on there. All right, we have a list of all the equipment at the site, and we have a list of a history of all the work orders we've ever done here, and we can go back and look at all those. When I'm done, I can come back to my main and then check out. And the status goes to finished, and then I can print the form. And we can go through and see what's going on. So here's the finished work order. Now this is, some folks have come back to me and said, we'd prefer not to have rates and extensions on our work order, and we prefer to change things around, and we'd like to organize it in different ways, and that's perfectly all right with us. This is a crystal report. Modify it to your heart's content. And then you can pop the signature button and collect a signature. And there was that Annie Nolan. We're going to email the signed contract to her. And I'm going to sign it for Annie with my mouse, which is going to be, wait a minute, can I do it here?
You can, sir.
There you go. I've got one of those Surface things going here, and it's pretty cool. I got to sign it with my finger. And then I'll just click it with my finger and save this thing. So what just happened? So we took that signature and applied it to the work order. It's going to come to me because I've got Annie's address. So let's go ahead and send it. And out she goes.
You've just, in the field here, conceivably, you've just created it,
yeah,
gotten it approved,
yeah,
emailed it out,
yeah,
and now you're off to get coffee.
And I'm off to get coffee. And let's see, did it come in here? Unread mail. Whoop, boop, boop. No, it hasn't showed up yet. So I guess we'll find it in a minute. So when it pops up, I'll show you. But basically what happened here, if I close this up, and then the other thing it did is it attached that signed form to the images. You guys remember I had an image before of the photo I took, but now I've also got an image of that signed work orders on here as well. Okay, so I just done this, and I'd say that is awesome. We're good to go. I give Annie a kiss on the cheek, and I'm on my way. That's perhaps not professional services there, but we're close in my little town. And then it tells me what I've got to do next. So now I've got to move on to my next call here, again at the Seattle Library. And the one I finished is in here somewhere. Okay? So I'm going to close this up. And we would now go back to the library, or back into the office. And I'm going to go ahead and put the information on here. And now, and I'm going to skip this given our time that we've got. Wayne, where are we on time here?
Let me check, sir. We are
pretty close to the end.
You have 9 minutes left.
All right, so I'm going to skip this here. But basically, and here's the concept. Let's go pull that work order up. And let me go actually open up the screen over here. And let me pull up my work order here and say I want to look at my finished work orders. And here they all are, and here's the one I just did. And here's the information that was collected from the field. And I can pop down here and look at all the activity here, and I can look at the labor piece here. And I can see I work for somewhat under an hour. But I can then come in here and say, you know what, we bill at least an hour. So even though the cost is, I'm only going to get paid for a few minutes work, I'm actually going to bill for a full hour. Okay? On the material side, you can see materials I've got on here. We've got this stuff. Let's go have a look at this entry here. So we've got stuff, we've got 156, and we're going to bill the customer for this, and our unit cost on this stuff is $3. We're going to calculate a unit price of $5.10, because remember I talked about the ability of the system to calculate pricing based on non-stock material and stock materials. We'll throw that on there. There are purchase orders out there, but none of them have been built yet. This is that purchase order, but it has no value yet because the guys haven't finished it out. So I'm going to skip that. But we can bill for parts on a PO even though we haven't received the invoice if we choose to do so. And then we're over here on the financials, and I can click this summary piece. So I've got the labor, the materials, my other charges. I can see what the billing is going to be on this. We can do multiple invoices against a work order. And I'm going to click this Bill Now button here. And I can say Preview the invoice. And I can say Set the work order to complete. Remember I said you can do multiple billings. Well, that means that after I bill, I'd have to leave the work order in some kind of a non-complete state. But I'm going to make this one complete. And we'll continue. And the system will generate an invoice. And go ahead and say, let's look at the work order variation on this. And then here's the invoice that would go out. Talk to your text in the system. There's my work complete note I put in, my billing, the materials we're putting on, other costs, and I can just go ahead and email this. And that's out to me, and then I send it. Okay, so given that we have our short time, I think I've given you guys a pretty reasonable taste of what you can get into on our system.
It's a little bit more than a simple dispatch system, isn't it, sir?
Just a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. Okay.
So, Mark, thank you so much. We did have a bunch of questions, and although I'm sure you thought I was on eBay or doing something else over here while you were busy working.
You do have a rep.
Yeah, I was actually answering as many of the questions as I could get to, and I do think I provided answers. I'm not sure if they were the correct answers, but I provided answers to most of the folks. But let's take a quick look through and see if we have any that I didn't get to. You know what? Wow, I did provide answers to everyone.
The beauty, Wayne.
So what I'll need you to do, Mark, later is go back and correct the things I've actually said to people, if you don't mind.
I'll answer any question. It may not be the right answer,
That's
but I'll
right.
give you an answer to each.
Well, my father always had that in his workshop. It was, answers $2,
Correct ones?
Correct, correct ones, $20.
Yeah.
Some sort of a snide comments free. So that was there. But anyway, folks, what we're going to do, I'll leave the session open. So we won't close it out. If anyone has any comments, questions, feedback, anything else you'd like to see, some follow-up information on service management, or anything that Spectrum can do for you, let us know, and we will absolutely get back to you. We really appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. Our webinars are frequent. They are free. They're occasionally entertaining. Present case accepted.
Exactly.
But
you want to hear all the old cornball jokes?
We've got them. That's right. It's like NPR on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
But we do really encourage you to visit dexterandcheney.com/webinars. See what else is out there. We're always online showing something.
Or frankly, just give us a call if you want us to get into more depth with your specific business. Obviously, we want to talk to you.
Yeah. That's as much information as Mark was able to go over. Obviously, the way that this applies to every company is a little bit different, and so we were able to show that to you individually through online presentations. Folks, again, thanks so much for our existing customers. Thanks, folks, and hope to see you out at our users conference here in a few weeks. To those who are not existing customers, well, thank you for joining us and learning a little bit about some service management technology that's out there that we're pretty proud of. Mark?
I'm happy.
All right. Well, then, if you're happy, we're happy. All right. Folks, thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.